The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to Storybrooke Weekly Mirror in Wonderland, the unofficial Once Upon a Time in Wonderland internet radio show exclusively on PapiChuloRadio.com. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. I am your host, Papi Chulo. During tonight's broadcast, we're going to revisit ABC's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. Later on in the broadcast, get ready for a spoiler alert as we bring you the hit ABC series as Easter eggs and ratings. Please welcome my wondrous co-host. She risked so much to get you back. It's Priscilla.
And so you're back from outer space. Hey guys.
Priscilla's our disco diva.
I've been aged.
Aww. Next up, she's heard of people like you. It's Jess.
Hi guys.
And she'd love to stay and chat, but she's got a bottle to catch. It's Brittany.
That is 100% accurate. Like, yeah, I love me some spicy rum over good conversation. Or both. Hey, guys.
Over good conversation or both?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I gotta go get some rum, or I'll get the rum and then I'll talk to you because it's easier to talk to someone when you're drunk.
Hashtag accurate. And on that note, let's jump into our recap of episode 1.12, which was titled To Catch a Thief, and originally aired on March 27th, 2014. Here's the official synopsis of the penultimate episode of the series. In flashback, the Knave hunts Alice per Cora's directive, and he finds himself striking a deal to get his heart back. While in present-day Wonderland, Alice and the Knave's friendship is tested as he does Jafar's bidding and steals from her. Meanwhile, the Jabberwocky attempts to free herself from Jafar's control, and Jafar is confronted by his former partner. So let's get into it. Let's get everyone's initial take on their rewatch of the episode To Catch a Thief. Let's start off with Priscilla. What's your initial take on it?
After last episode, I was expecting something that kind of kept the momentum going, but it appeared to slow it down before the big finale. So I wasn't as enthused about this episode. Certainly not going to give it a golden mushroom.
Jess?
I enjoyed this one, actually. I thought it was really cool. I mean, like I said earlier, I've said this before, I don't want people to think that I'm just, mindlessly kissing this show's ass, but I don't think that there was one episode of this short-lived series that I wasn't thoroughly entertained by.
Brittany?
I quite enjoyed this episode. I'm with Jess. I think we needed to slow down a little bit to see, for us to catch our breath after such a twist of an ending, a shocking ending. I mean, time to recover. And I say this because we're not watching it weekly. We're watching it, because we have it to binge it, if you will. So for us, it's kind of okay, hurry up. But it's also for people that watched it weekly, you gotta holy shit, this just happened. We need to take a step back and then figure out what's gonna happen. Devise a plan, set up your plan. And I enjoyed where we went this episode and where we got to. I do think it was a little bit dragged, but I do think we needed it. You need to recover a little bit before you just go. And I wanted to know what Jafar was doing with his bottles. I wanted to know what
Oh
the big
gosh.
wait, I wanted to know what he was planning, and I needed answers to some questions I had, and I think they answered a lot of it, and I think the climax, the ending of this episode was really strong, and I think that's keeping up with the momentum of the last couple episodes where we're ending on a high note that makes me want to like say fuck you guys. I'm going to keep watching the show. I don't care if I spoil it, but no, like that to me is a good job. Job well done, actually. So pretty solid episode in my opinion.
I agree with that. I thought it was a decent episode. It was certainly a setup episode for the finale, but we needed a setup. Like we had to like figure out, where our
What's our next move?
exactly where our chess pieces were on the table. Like we had to figure that out so that we could sort of like get a tease for like the next moves and what could potentially happen in the final episode. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was decent, and I liked how the flashbacks really came full circle. Like, we had a little bit of like the full circle stuff in the previous episode with those flashbacks, and now we like literally had like full circle to like the beginning of the series, and like the flashbacks from the very first episode of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. So let's get into it. Before we get into our thorough recap, here are a few reminders on how you can interact with the show via social media.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Storybrooke Weekly Mirror. Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives.
So let's get into the episode and let's focus on the flashbacks. So we have the Knave of Hearts. He has settled into his role as, one of the members of the Queen of Hearts, soldier squadron, and they're looking for public enemy number one in Wonderland, an outlaw, ruthless enough, to steal and do horrible things and all this kind of stuff in the eyes of the Queen of Hearts. And they end up stumbling onto a recent campfire, and they spot their enemy, and so they head off in hot pursuit, and the Knave sets off on his own path to find the outlaw, and, unfortunately the Knave takes a tumble and lands directly at this outlaw's lap, and we find out that this horrible, vicious outlaw is none other than our very own Alice. And Alice is surprised at this whole persona that the Queen of Hearts has given her, and demands to know who this person is. And the Knave introduces himself with his title and goes on to say he's a jack of all trades at the service of the Queen. And we have this is when the Knave and Alice first meet each other, but of course, Alice runs off into the woods, and the Knave, assures her that this isn't going to be their last encounter, and of course it isn't, because later on the Knave of Hearts spies Alice taking a bit of a nap, and right out in the open, and as the Knave creeps up behind her, or towards her, he's captured in a net in a very similar way. If we've been following the mothership, we know that Bandit Snow has set up similar traps in the past on Once Upon a Time. And through, just chatting and whatnot, we learn, or Alice learns, that he is being controlled by the Queen of Hearts, and he says that it wasn't probably the brightest idea for him to surrender his heart to her. And so Alice, of course, wants to get rid of her, of this, and consistently trying to capture her man, and so she offers to steal for him his heart back. But of course it's in the queen's vault, guarded by her best men, but Alice is like, don't worry, I can steal it. And so she heads off to steal the heart for him while he remains in the net. So we see Alice at the Queen of Hearts hedge maze, and she is she's sort of scoping out the area, and we see that she ends up stealing the keys. She ends up like counting off the seconds it takes for the guards of the vault to change, and she ends up actually stealing, or I should say entering the vault undetected. And Cora has a unique filing system, so at first Alice is like, what the hell am I supposed to do? But she remembers that the knave referred to himself as a jack of all trades, and so Alice deduces that the heart lies in the J to H box. And so, continuing on with the flashbacks, we're back with the knave and still in the net, and he's cut down. Alice returns the heart. However, the knave still has the urge to end Alice. And so, of course, he gets shoved into a tree for his trouble. And Alice, holding the heart, is basically, says, knock it off. Stop trying to kill me, basically. And she realizes that the power she holds over him with the heart, so she makes him do a whole bunch of stuff, which is awesome. And things sort of turn serious as Alice makes a final request. She wants the knave to help her find proof to show her father that Wonderland exists, that she isn't crazy. And later on, we have the knave and Alice sharing a pint at the tavern. They're chugging along, and she feels guilty for her still holding onto the knave's heart. And they end up having a bonding moment, and the knave even tells her the story of his sister Penelope, who he lost in an accident involving thin ice. And he likes to think that she would have turned out much like Alice. And so this sort of starts their bromance type of thing. And we also see them in the last flashback that they're in the Queen of Hearts hedge maze. We see the knave and Alice drawing swords and fighting off the Queen's guards. We also see them tossing some of the guards into the Hungry Hungry Hedges, which is a nice little callback to Once Upon a Time, where we've seen that happen before in the hedge maze. And so with the guards dispatched, the Knave of Hearts hands Alice her sack, which of course there's a bit of an alluding nature to the fact that the White Rabbit is in it. And then we have the knave saying farewell to Alice as he distracts the guards, and he tells her that her happy ending is right around the corner. And as we know from the very first flashback, this is where we pick up, where Alice runs away, and presumably she runs into the bottle, when she shrinks. So what did we think of the flashbacks?
I don't know, it felt so corny to me.
Oh no.
I don't know, I appreciated the fact that it kind of turned everything, it kind of connected the first episode to the last episode. It showed how they're friends, but I hated when she solved the riddle of, by timing, when the things were going to be there. I'm like, can none of you hear that she's there? What's going on here? And I don't know, it didn't have the charm that I usually expect from Alice and the Knave. Although I did appreciate the callback to Penelope's, considering wasn't it when Robin was getting like a healing elixir or something from Oz that the knave says that's why he needs the medication for his sister.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was nice to kind of hear that. This flashback was all about connections, whether it be to like the mothership with like the hungry hedges, or like
Hungry Hedges.
or the beginning. Like it was all about connection. All I feel is I felt bored watching this. Like
Aw, would you have rather have a chat with Mirza?
probably, yeah. Like
Oh no. Mirza is Jess's mortal enemy.
ah.
Mirza is walking, talking birth control.
Oh my gosh.
Mirza, at least that was part of like an interesting flashback. This was not one of my favorite flashbacks.
Okay. Jess, do you agree?
I like the flashbacks, but I agree they did kind of get tedious because I was like, okay, I know where this goes. Like, I don't really care as much as I would if, like, the show was starting out and I really wanted to see that sort of bonding between them. Like, I find their present relationship much more interesting.
Okay. Brittany, would you agree?
Oh, I like the flashbacks. I thought it was a nice coming full circle because, I mean, one of the questions I had was, are they gonna show us how they met? Are we ever gonna see how they met? It's not one of the first questions that I have on my list of questions, but it's there, and I'm glad we got it answered. I mean, in an episode that we needed to slow down a little bit, and also they needed to parallel how strong the friendship between Will and Alice is compared to the present, from the past and the present. How they met and where they are now, and how, like, can we trust Will, or the conflict that they're having in the present. Um, it reflects in the past of how they met first. Can he trust her to get the heart back? Can she trust him, to not kill her when she brings it back? It's just all that stuff. And I like that Alice goes and she does get the heart back. I like that she's able to do it by herself, and I don't think that makes her OP. I think that just makes her smart, because the reason, one of the things in Alice in Wonderland is that she outsmarts the queen most of the time, and her guards mostly, because her guards are actually not supposed to be that smart. They just follow orders. So I like that Alice uses the advantages that she has, which is she knows Wonderland. She's been there long enough to know where the traps are, to know the creatures, to know the things around her, and use that to her advantage. So I like that we got some of that, and I liked how they met. I thought it was really in character, and it didn't make me, scratch my head like, oh, really? That's it? It was just like, oh, okay, continuation from last week's episode, or the previous episode, I'm sorry. Um, and it just came full circle, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll help you out. And that's a testament to Will's character, that he's not a selfish person, as long as there's something in it for him. But I like that he's like, you know what? Okay, let's go and prove your father wrong and prove you right. And I like that a lot.
I love that saying. Like he's not selfish unless there's something for him.
Well, in some of the cases, because I think what this journey has showed us is that he started off with wanting something in return, and now look at where we are. Like, you can be selfish for like maybe an episode, but deep down, if it comes to what you want and to what's right, he's gonna do what's right, which he did in the first episode, right? I think, or the second, where they make that pact. I'll give you a wish, and she goes up the tree, and he's gonna steal it and run off, but she ends up needing help, and he comes back and he helps her. So
Yeah, that was first episode. So like he has a sense of honor, if not a heart.
Aww.
exactly.
I like the flashbacks. I didn't mind them. I always wanted to see the origin of the Bro TP, and I'm glad that we got a chance to see it. I don't know. I don't know if this flashback would have been better suited earlier in the season for because I know like half of us liked it, half of us were kind of like eh. I don't know if it would have worked earlier in the season. I feel like it kind of fit where they put it. Because
Yeah,
I
I
can't
think it
see
did.
it being incorporated earlier.
Yeah, especially since this was a very Will-centric, Will and Alice-centric episode, like, because they had a lot of screen time in the flashbacks and in the present where he has a mission to get the love of his life back, and I like that they butt heads over that, and that they even have a fight over it. So I think this was properly placed, that they had a rocky start, but in the end they became good friends, and in the present they have like a rocky thing going on, but in the end they're still friends. That he'll still do what he has to do because it's the right thing, but also because they're friends.
Yeah, I thought the weird part was where his heart was. Like, really? Like, his name is Will Scarlet. He's the Knave of Hearts, but his heart is under Jack of all trades.
I get it. It's corny, but like it makes it's one of the weaker puzzles that Alice has solved.
You gotta start her small, and then like now she's able to like do the door thing, the riddles and stuff. Like she's gotta like start small and then work her way up to like the really big one. So
That's
that's
what
not.
feels weird though. She's starting small at the very end of the series. I know that it's a flashback to the very beginning, but it's just again like it's placed oddly. I don't know.
I thought it was brilliant because to be honest, I'm really bad at riddles, but I thought that's
Oh,
good because the flashbacks are supposed to show something we don't know, and the humble beginnings of the characters that we love, and that's how she figured that out, and I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm just me. It doesn't bother me. I'm very very laid back with that stuff. Just pretty cool.
so in the present day, we have the Knave of Hearts taunting Jafar through his jail cell. Jafar has placed the now deceased Red Queen in a glass coffin that's right outside of the cell, which is very classy, Jafar. Very classy. And it's like Wonderland, much like the Enchanted Forest, they love their glass coffins.
Although that coffin was clearly plastic. Like they didn't even try.
Well, okay.
They didn't even try and make it look like glass because like do you remember Snow White's coffin and that was the first episode sort of thing, and it looked glass and beautiful, and like this, I don't know, this looks like a tanning bed.
Oh gosh. Well, a pilot always gets more money.
Agree.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
I see.
I know. Even the Sultan over at his house was like, damn, what the hell are you doing, Jafar? This is just freaking rude. But Jafar reminds his father that mercy is not a family trait. And the Knave of Hearts, I loved the shout out, even though it really wasn't to the Mad Hatter, but like he was like, "You're madder than a Hatter." I thought that was cute.
Didn't he say madder than the Hatter?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I thought that was cute. And so Jafar, sort of is dangling the idea of bringing the Red Queen back in front of the Knave, and it's interesting how he's sort of bringing this up because the idea and the concept of what he's trying to do is like break the laws of magic, which would bring people back from the dead. It would allow magic to murder people and to make people fall in love and like all this kind of stuff. It's the interesting concept that's now coming back and being introduced to the rest of our characters. They're all starting to really realize what Jafar has been planning all along. Elsewhere, Alice and Cyrus are once again regrouping in their little hideaway, and they're having a bit of an argument. Cyrus is like, in order to defeat Jafar, we need to free the other genies, but in order to do so, the water from the Well of Wonders has to be returned, and that water, Cyrus believes, rests with his mother, who in turn rests in Jafar's staff, which is now in their possession. And so Alice wants to free Amara from the staff, but Cyrus is hesitant, knowing the consequences of defying magic, firsthand. And so Alice agrees to follow Cyrus's plan to return to the Well of Wonders, but before they can get there, the Knave of Hearts makes an appearance, and the knave informs them what Jafar did to the Red Queen, and Alice assures the knave that his friends are there for him, and he says that the way that they can bring the Red Queen back is to let Jafar win. And I thought that was interesting. I wasn't sure where they were going to go with this, because I was like, why bring the knave to them to like fill them in on what needs to happen when in actuality Jafar is holding all the cards at the moment, you know?
Agree, but it's to push along the plot.
Yeah.
Everything is just like, if you need to know reasons, it's plot.
Hashtag reasons, hashtag plot, hashtag magic. So the knave is trying to convince Alice and Cyrus to do the exact opposite of what they've been working on doing the entire series, basically. He's like, what we've been doing these past 10.5 episodes now, we need to put that on pause. We need to let Jafar win, basically. And they refuse to hand over the snake staff over to the knave. And Alice reminds the knave that if Jafar doesn't screw them over, giving a sorcerer as dark as Jafar the ability to use magic unchecked could lead to the death of hundreds. So she tells the knave that she would do anything for him, but she can't do what he's asking. So the laws of magic are obviously in place for a reason, and destroying them could have horrific reasons.
That was a weird line. Like, this is where, like, a whole bunch of, like, shippers for, like, Alice and the Knave were born. Like, that was very much like, I will do anything for love, but I won't do that. Like, it's...
Yes, it was a meatloaf moment.
Really? There were shippers for Will and Alice?
There's a ton.
Ugh. Weird.
Yeah. But the knave does agree to accompany Alice and Cyrus to the Well of Wonders. And he's got his eyes on the staff that's now strapped to Cyrus's back. Over at the palace, we got Jafar looking over his spell book, the Jabberwocky there, and she's I don't know, she's like doing her whole little like psychobabble that Jafar's fear smells of fresh pine needles and snow. And I thought that was weird, right?
She is weird.
Yes.
It suits her though. Like,
yeah.
She's grabbing at straws though to try and like kind of force her way out of this contract.
She is. I mean, she's trying to reclaim the Vorpal blade, and like she's trying her hardest, but Jafar is too quick for her. Snatching up the blade and assuring his Jabberwocky that she will get her freedom and can be on her way once the spell is complete. And well, let's continue on from there, and let's talk about where our other heroes are. The night has fallen, so the heroes are catching a couple of Z's on their way to the Well of Wonders, and well, at least trying to sleep, because the knave is up and about trying to grab the snake staff. Of course, he's caught by Cyrus. I mean, like, come on, knave, like, you're supposed to be smarter than this. Like, really?
Desperate man. Like, the qualities of a desperate man. Like, he kind of phrased it, but I'm not sure if he phrased it like the scene ago or now, but he said, I'm sorry, I'm thinking with my heart instead of my head. I haven't had it for a while now. Like, that makes perfect sense. He's desperate.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So Cyrus ends up getting punched out. Alice gets woken up, and of course she's disappointed about everything that's happened, though Cyrus assures her that all is not lost and there is still time to correct the knave's mistake. So with the lost and found, the pair follow it to the staff and the Knave of Hearts, of course, and I don't know, it's a hot mess. Like, seriously, like, it just turns into a bigger mess than it needed to be, because as you guys mentioned, the knave is between a rock a cliff, basically. He doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to do what he feels is the right thing to bring Anastasia back. I mean, it gets to the point to where they're on the edge of a cliff, water's rushing below, the knave pops up and holds a knife to Alice's throat.
That was out of character. Like, it was weird. Like, I don't know how I felt about that scene. But again, like, the product of a desperate man, that he doesn't act the way you'd plan him to. So, in a sense, I get it. And in another sense, I'm just kind of like, why am I watching this? This is really out of character.
I loved it. I was like, I think the best thing the things we've been seeing this season is Knave without his heart, and that makes him act a lot more with logic, and he has no reason to get heated over anything. And right now, he just saw the woman he loves die in front of him, and he gets a little, glimpse of hope that, she can come back, but you need to do this. Like, he's going against everything that they've been doing for somebody he loves, and I mean, you're gonna do some stupid shit, but you're gonna do it for the person you love. And I'm not saying that it makes it a good thing, but I mean, when they had that conversation with Alice or earlier, where she's like, well, I would do anything for you, but not this. And it's like, well, you're kind of contradicting yourself, because you would do it. You would see my side. And that's why they have that argument where he's like, how come when I need the help, to be reunited with the person I love, you're not doing shit? But when it was you and Cyrus, I had to go along and, do all this, put my life at risk. And you're not going to do the same for me. And I think that hits home for her, because it's true.
Yeah, it's
is true. And I have to say, I am on Will's side here, which I know it's like, she's like, hundreds will die, and he's like, but Anastasia. And I know people, that's actually controversial for people. It's like, really, you're gonna save one person at the cost of 100? But it's like, when it's personal, honestly, nobody's gonna think with logic. It's like, if you see a lot of people in danger, but you see the person you love or your family member in danger, you're gonna save your family member. Like, it's no contest, and that's the sad truth. It's not a sad truth, actually. It just means where your priorities lie, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I understood Will. I think I would have acted the same way. It's not that he was going to kill her. It's just he's warning her. Like, this is not a game. Like, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go and get the woman I love back. And it strikes a chord with Alice. And then she, puts herself in danger. So
Yeah.
Typical Alice.
I know. Well, it wouldn't be
Almost.
Wonderland if it wasn't dangerous. Yeah. So we have the knave sort of like stalking away after dropping his truth bombs, which Brittany just dropped for us, and Alice would have been following him had the cliff not crumbled below her feet, sending her down to the water. And after a bit of hesitation, the knave heads back, and we cut to them soggy, trying to dry themselves by the fire. And Alice remarks, with a bit of surprise, that the knave saved her. And he says that she would have done the same, and it's kind of a callback to them. Remember with the mock turtle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also a throwback to how pure her heart is. That, she'll help you even if you've done her wrong. And it shows that Will's the same way. Not that Alice did anything wrong, but that, he's not totally blinded by the things that he's doing to get Anastasia back. He could have been selfish and be like, well, I got what I came from, I'm gonna get out of here. His friend's in trouble, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna help her. And I still, for the record, he would have done that even if he didn't have his heart. He still would have helped her.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we have the knave, Cyrus and Alice. They're going through the woods by torchlight. It seems as if the knave and Cyrus have made peace. And then all of a sudden, something's not right in the woods. The woods have gone silent.
Uh-oh.
And the reason is because Jess is in the woods. Now, the Jabberwocky is near, and the Jabberwocky starts fucking with them because, I mean, that's what the Jabberwocky does. But Alice bravely calls out the beast, and the Jabberwocky is there on her own accord. She's grown tired of Jafar and wishes for freedom. And they're obviously less than eager to help, but the Jabberwocky points out that she feeds on fear, and if Jafar is eliminated, the fear in this realm will dissipate, and she will have to move on. So everyone will get what they want, right?
Oh, like that sounds like something a hero would do. Help me, a bad guy, and I won't affect you, but I'll affect somebody else in another kingdom that I fuck over. Like,
I would take it.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, you gotta know when to pick your battles, man. Like, you're not gonna hurt me or my friends? Okay, well, I don't give a fuck. I don't know anyone else here. Like, immunity. This is where I learned from the Vampire Diaries, Priscilla, where they always made pacts with Elena, and they're like, I won't hurt you or your friends or your family. Like, okay, I'll take it. Take the deal.
Do you remember Damien was like, no. Did I mention no? Like,
yeah, well, yeah, I know, but yeah, I do.
Fuck that.
I know, I agree, but I can't argue that the deal sounds tempting. I mean, right now we're pressed for time. Like, you got to make a decision, but I do like that they raised their stake. They're like, well, are you going to be of use to us or not? And
Exactly.
I like that. Alice is really good at bargaining. I really do admire that trait of hers.
Yeah, because the Jabberwocky obviously thinks that they just want to defeat Jafar, but they're like, we also want to restore the Red Queen, and they're like, can you help with that? And she's like, she is of no use with that, but she does say that the Snake Staff, she can help him with that.
And that's when you know that the Jabberwocky means business. Like,
Yeah.
sure, she's in it for herself, but she's doing what it takes to make sure that she gets out of this. So I can appreciate that. Another reason to like the Jabberwocky, in my opinion.
There was an interesting moment when the knave calls the Jabberwocky a monster, and then she responds that monsters are not born, they are made, which is a little bit of a callback to one of the Once Upon a Time Mothership lines: if evil isn't born, it's made. Jess, did you feel for the Jabberwocky? Were you on like Team Jabberwocky? Did you want to help her out? I know that you don't necessarily care for her hair, but would you have given her a brush at this moment? Like, would you have been a friend? Would you have like taken selfies together and maybe had like a sleepover with pillow fights and s'mores and Netflix and no chill?
That depends on if she's willing to make the s'mores, because I'm not allowed near the oven or the fire. Just anything with an open flame I'm not allowed near. But, she is a terrifying character, and I haven't seen anything to suggest that there's, goodness lying in that black tar heart of hers. So I can't say, like, I want to say that everybody does deserve a second chance, like Alice even says everyone deserves a second chance, but I don't see it with her. I only see the Jabberwocky, this creature that literally feeds on your fears. It reminds me of the Craig Thompson graphic novel Space Dumplings, and basically what happens is, spoilers if you haven't read it yet, but it's middle grade, so I don't think our audience is reading middle grade things, but basically these whales are these space whales are the problems in the books, and they eat planets and the people on them, and eventually, like, when there's no more planet, they will move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And it just reminds me of the Jabberwocky, because I don't really think that her need to feed on people's fears will ever be satisfied. Like, I think that she would just continue hopping from world to world and destroying it all, and I personally can't see anything that is, I guess, forgivable about that, if that's even a word. But I don't see the redeeming qualities in her. I would like to. I just don't at this point, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can't always have, an antagonist that you want to see the good in.
Okay.
Agree.
We have this character that's been such a vicious force of life for the past few episodes, and yet we have this moment with her, like that moment where she's talking about, she isn't a monster, that monsters aren't born, they're made, and she even says that, she refers to feeding on fear as eating. And we have this moment where, like, she has, like, this sadness in her eyes when she's, like, talking about this. Were we at all, like, feeling for the character? Did we at all think that maybe this could be the start of, like, a bit of like, redemption for this creature after all the stuff that she's done, at the request of Jafar?
But does she kill people?
She's killed people before. Like, there was, like, an entire tower, and they've mentioned before in the lore that she was so fucking dangerous that, like, all of Wonderland banded together. Like, god damn, like, even Regina, not all of the kingdom banded together to take her out. Like, this creature is fucked up.
I do think that when she said about how about a monster, that quote, that really fantastic quote. I actually use that a lot in a lot of, if I'm trying to make a point in some of my characters that I defend. I do think she gave a hint of that, she's cursed. I think she feels like she's cursed, kind of like a vampire, like where, I didn't choose this life, but in order to live, I have to suck the blood out of people. And it's like, it depends what you watch. Some of them, they have to suck all the blood, and actually kill the person, or they enjoy killing the person while getting a drink, or they just, bite them, drink, and then they stay alive. It depends. And here, I don't know, I just thought that was actually interesting. And you even see it in Will's face when she tells him that, he's kind of like, oh shit, well, and that kind of gives you it paints you a picture that she was not always like this. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that no, she wasn't born like this. I thought that was cool. Does it mean that she could get redemption? I don't know. I think she has fun with what she does, but I do think in that moment, she shows that maybe it's not always fun, or maybe it's the sword itself that people can control her, because that's the one thing that can kill her. So I don't know. It's a number of things, but the fact that she's enlisting in their help, I think it means something. So
I totally, like, when you were saying that, I was just kind of like, I didn't choose Thug Life. Thug Life chose me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it's true. And I love it. I love that it's more complex than what is at the surface, and it's not making me feel sorry for her, but it is adding more layers to her. I mean, I like a villain that enjoys being a villain as well, but I also like that, she was having some fun with Jafar telling her what to do, but she's gotten to a point where she's like, I may be a monster, I was created, but I also want freedom, and that's like a humanistic trait that she is able to keep, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jess was terrified of the Jabberwocky when she premiered, but now she wants to do her hair.
Yeah. That's called character development. No, I don't know. I don't want to say development, but I do like that. It's like if the more time you spend with Jafar, like the more you become human or something. Like you don't want to be around that guy. Like even she wants to get rid of him. Like that says something.
Yeah, she's getting additional layers, which is always interesting. It's nice to have a villainous character, like, with different shades, not just sort of like the dark shade. Like she's got some light shades to her as well, even though she has slaughtered a bajillion people.
It's true. It's true. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm on the side of her, but I do like that everyone's just like, you know what? I'm really getting tired of Jafar's shit, and I want to kill him.
Exactly. Let's team up with this vicious creature.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be friends with him. Like, Amara fucking, like, turned into a staff and didn't want to hang out with him anymore.
Mirza didn't even want to hang out with him.
Mirza bitch slapped him. The Sultan fucking wanted to drown him. Nobody wants to hang out with you. And at a point, sir, you have to realize, is it them or is it you?
But it looks like he doesn't care to be in company either. So there you go. Even though he wanted the approval of his father and just to be his son, I don't think he really cares of being in the company of anybody, which is pretty. I wouldn't want Jafar to be like, "Oh, I'm lonely." I would hate that. I just love that he is.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I'm lonely.
With what he's been through, it's who he is now, and he doesn't give a fuck.
You know, the only person, like, it really brings to light a face that only a mother could love. Like, because the only person who has ever given a shit about him is his mother, and she died, like, 5 seconds in.
Aww.
Yeah, that's true. But... And I admit, when I saw, when we had that flashback of his dad, of the Sultan, trying to drown, I was like, oh, shit, man, I feel bad for you, Jafar. Now I'm still kind of like, well... I mean,
Monsters aren't born. Obviously, like, he wasn't born a dick, but he
was. Yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree. But it's like, how far are you gonna go? Like, he wanted revenge on his father, but look who he is now. Like, look what power did to him.
Yeah, and the more evil he turns, the better his hair gets.
Yeah, and it was partly due to when he goes to Amara for power, and we even get that glimpse of when she kills the random sheep guy or their house cleaner or whatever the fuck that guy was.
The neighbor.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I thought he was like a maid, but she tells him, go kill that guy, and Jafar is like, no, like, what? He's been a good guy.
That's my friend.
Yeah, so, but he does it, and that...
I know, she's like, if you kill him, I will let you make love to me.
Pretty much, and then you see her, and we're like, damn, you a cold bitch, but then now we know what
my god.
You know what you've been doing. It's so weird, and that's why I like this type of show that...
yeah, because you see her and you think she's going to be a villain. That's why Jess was terrified of her.
And I love that they're showing us the motivations of everyone's actions, and that we can't judge them solely on what they've done, because once we see it, we think we judge them in this way. Later on, we find out, oh, they did that for that. Well, okay, then I don't care about the random neighbor, or whatever.
Oh my god, the maid.
And I'm exactly the opposite. I'm like, bitch, I don't need to hear your sob story. You're an asshole right now. And that's what I have to concentrate on. Like, I don't need to hear that, like, my mom abandoned me and my father never loved me. Fuck you. That doesn't give you, like, the right to be an asshole. And Jafar's a butt. So, like, whatever.
Jafar...
And he was getting laid by, like, a beautiful woman.
Yeah, no, but for Jafar was... he actually, it was sad because his mom died, but he just wanted to be the son. He didn't care about the riches and the gold. He just wanted to be a son. And the Sultan's like, I'm gonna drown you. So that is pretty fucking traumatic. And
then Mirza slapped him.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just... yeah, that's pretty fucking... That's PTSD shit right there. So I'm not excusing him for shit, but that is pretty fucking bad. But in return, it turned him into... The choices he made from then on, after killing that random guy, or the neighbor, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting who the fuck that is, but that alone was not due to his father and what he did. That was a choice he made. And that's when I knew, like, that's where he starts becoming a villain, and torturing people, and killing them on whim. That's when I have no excuses for you, and you're just an asshole. So... although I will say I wasn't rooting for him after his dad, like, drowned him. I mean, that's some fucked up shit. I would have just fucking left, but he wanted revenge, and I don't know. I mean, look at his father. His father's, like, been in the cage all his life, and he knows the error of his ways, and that didn't make him evil. He didn't turn into an evil guy. Well, he did say, I should have drowned you, or I should have finished the job. I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking bad. But
that's thug life right there.
Exactly.
Thug life. Swag right there.
I should have finished the job.
Raised by douches becomes a douche. Like, oh my god. Like, honestly, like, but you guys are really, like,
you're not swayed, but you're just kind of like, I feel you when there's badness, when there's a reason for the why they're so terrible. And honestly, like, I don't think they get a pass from me. I don't like them. Whatever.
Aw.
You can
No,
die.
my thing is, if you're gonna do revenge on somebody, fine. Go and do, excuse me, go and concentrate on that person. You know, don't hurt innocents in the process. That's where I can kind of like be okay with it. You know, as long as your cause is okay, but like going just focusing your energy on the person you want revenge on. But when you start hurting innocents and when you start ruining people's lives, then I have nothing for you, which is what Jafar has become. So, you know, whatever for him. And that's why the Red Queen, I'm more on her side because, well, she has a lot of layers. So
She does. So let's get into the rest of the episode because so much happens all at once. So, okay, so we have Alice and the Knave. They're using the palace tunnels, and Alice is using that whole clockwork counting down, similarly to what she did with the hedge maze over at the Queen of Hearts vault in the flashback. And we have the Jabberwocky. She sort of sachets her way into Jafar's workspace with Cyrus as her prisoner, and I'm using air quotes. Jafar is disappointed that it's Cyrus and not the staff, but she's trying to use him as a bit of like a bargaining chip to get the Vorpal blade back. And so Jafar is like, well, where's my staff? And Cyrus lies that it and everyone else, they're long gone. And the Jabberwocky backs this up, but Jafar is like, you know, I still have the Knave's bottle. And so I think at this point, maybe a lot of the characters have forgotten that. I mean, all he's got to do is just call the Knave back. But Cyrus is taken away, and Jafar sort of like tells Jabberwocky to like cool her heels. And while that's going on, Alice, she's counting, and she and the Knave have a brief moment where they're like, you know, there's no turning back on this plan. You know, anything can happen. So she tells the Knave to where he will, you know, directs him where he will be most likely spotted by the guards, and the Knave of Hearts leads them off in a chase, clearing the way for Alice to free the Sultan, knowing that the Sultan means a lot to Jafar, and she reasons that having another ally on the team won't hurt. And all of Jafar's ghosts are coming back to haunt him at this point. Elsewhere in the palace, Jafar has Cyrus in his workspace. Jafar retrieves the bottle attached to the Knave, and Cyrus sort of like persuades him to call the genie to his side. Right as the Knave was cornered, you know, the Knave gets called back, and Jafar is confident that he's basically holding all the cards at this moment. With the Knave in the throne room, Jafar puts a choke on him, you know, Jedi mind tricks, determined to figure out where the staff is, and the sorcerer has to look no further than right behind him because in comes Granny. No, that would be on the mothership.
Of Jess's favorite character. Yes, last time.
In comes Amara and her bosoms, and she has been restored into her human form, and Jafar is shocked, which was fantastic. And Amara, you know, he'd like to know how Amara was freed from her imprisonment, and Amara releases the Knave from the chokehold with just a snap of her fingers, and then all of a sudden they basically have this duel. You know, we have you know, Cyrus is like hiding in the background, like removing the ropes that bind him. And then elsewhere in Jafar's dungeon, Alice and the Sultan make their escape, only to be confronted by guards. The Sultan is taken aback, you know, telling Alice, there's too many enemies, there's too many. But this is where Alice shines because she draws her blade and, you know, just begins kicking ass left and right, which is another fantastic action sequence. She defeats the guards with ease, and the Sultan is like, "Where did you learn all of this?" And Alice says that Cyrus taught her. And it wasn't by luck that she stumbled it wasn't by luck that she stumbled upon his bottle. So we have Cyrus freed from his bonds. He goes over to the bottles containing his brothers, while Amara and Jafar are in a bit of a. It's like one of those things where, they have like these shards of glass in between them, and they're using sort of like their magic to like throw it at each other, but they're using the same force, like the blades are like stuck in between them. And so Jafar, is tells Amara that he's finally realized her goal, because earlier in the episode he had summoned the other genies, and they had asked, or he had asked them, "Do you know who Amara is? What does Amara have? Does his name mean anything to you?" And they of course play it cool, but he also said, "I just wanted to get a look at you." And then he put them back in the bottles, and so he's figured out why she wanted to get the genies. She never wanted the power, and she's only using this to complete her own goals and to find the 3 genies. And that he realizes that, like him, Amar's ultimate goal is family. And with that, this is another shocker. Jafar sends a shard of glass whizzing into Cyrus's heart. And as the glass pierces her child, she sees that, after all of this, that, her child has been hurt. And as the glass would have entered Cyrus, Alice can feel his pain. And it goes back to like something that Cyrus first told Alice back in the pilot. When you love someone, you can feel it. And she knows that something is wrong. Amara is cradling Cyrus. Jafar is triumphant. He knows that Amara will now do his bidding and will complete the spell in order to bring Cyrus back. All they need are the bottles, not the genies inside, for this magic. And the two begin to weave their spell. Alice rushes in, sees Cyrus lying on the ground. She goes to him while the room shakes with the power of the magic that's being created. And the last shot is Jafar's eyes glowing with power. Bum bum bum.
So.
Did we see that coming? Did we think Cyrus was basically gonna die or gonna get killed? Okay.
Yep.
I didn't.
Did we like that whole scene where they're like dueling with magic and like the chandelier turns into like giant snakes, which was kind of a callback to Aladdin,
That was
the animated?
That
I like
wizard's
that.
duel was cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that a plus. Nice to see Draco Malfoy and fucking Harry Potter duke it out. The shit. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, and the shards of glass effect was really nice.
Yeah.
I felt.
But god damn, like that was like you have shards of glass, you have this guy who's an epic asshole, and you have somebody right there who you like really give a shit about, who he despises. What makes you think he's not going to use that? Even if he doesn't know about your connection, like he would still kill him because he's a dick that way. Like, so.
Can I just say that probably being killed by a giant shard of glass is probably one of the most painful deaths.
It was straight to the heart, so it's not as bad. Like,
well, I guess that's true too.
I don't know, like, at least it was a different death than like the forced chokeholds he's been doing like all this season. But I don't know, everything was really like, Alice, you've been like smarter than this. Like, you've come up with better plans than this. Like, everything went wrong. Like, oh god.
Well, did we think everything would go right since this is the penultimate, not the season finale or series finale?
I would kind of like it to be like, alright, here's the difference. When I was watching the show, we already figured out like what was it, like 3 episodes before it was going to end that it was canceled. So I knew that they were going to try and wrap up the show as much as possible with those last couple of episodes. So I thought for sure, like, it was going to be kind of like a two-parter, like the rest of the Once Upon a Time things, where, like, both the last episodes are, I don't know, frantic with energy and with stuff happening and with suspense, and I did not get that with this episode.
I disagree. I had all the suspense. I had everything. Like, I love it when
Yeah.
everything goes wrong. That's like the best thing ever. And I think why they did that was because the only thing that was hanging in the balance, honestly, was that Will wanted the spell to work, or he wanted Jafar to win so we could get Anastasia back. Now we need Jafar to do this thing so that we can get Cyrus back now too. Like,
Exactly, and I feel like the start of the episode was a bit more slow, and certainly a lot of build up to like the crescendo, which was once the Jabberwocky, made the deal. Like, I feel like shit hit the fan, like big time. Like, this plan was like the big action, dramatic, you know, uh,
it
event.
felt like a almost like a second to the last like episode for a finale. Like,
Yeah.
shit needs to hit the fan, and then we need to find a way to make it better. I'm not saying that this is better than like the previous episode's ending, but I do think it was a rather good cliffhanger for what it was. Like, we had a lot of shots going everywhere towards the last like 10 minutes. We had Will running away. We had Alice and the Sultan. And we had Alice in that really great fight scene where she like 1v7, which was awesome. I don't think it's OP at all. I just think that in almost every show ever, the men that work for somebody, they're really bad fighters. And
Yeah.
and throughout the entire series, it's not like Alice is rusty. If anything, she's gotten better, or she's sharper. So
Yeah.
I love that she handled it, and it's that moment where they're almost there. They're almost all, everything's gonna come together, and the one thing that they didn't see coming, it happens. And maybe for us, we could have been like, oh yeah, well, Cyrus is definitely gonna die. It's like I really didn't see it coming. I thought they were gonna get everybody together, and then Jafar would do something else, but I didn't. I don't know. It was just so fast for me to process it, and I love it. It just shows again that Jafar is one step ahead, that he's able to figure stuff out, and I like that. That doesn't make him overpowered. That just makes him a smart person, and it's really cool. I really enjoyed that, and just that ending was really great. I think it made me want to watch the finale even more because I want to know what's gonna happen, because they're breaking the laws of magic, and magic comes with a price.
It's almost as if every episode post the mid-season premiere has ended with a cliffhanger or a
Yeah.
shocking twist that completely reshuffles the deck and puts like a brand new, game for them to play around with.
Yeah,
Like, it just changes the game completely, as opposed to like the first half of the season where it was like always like this mission, like the mission, the mission, the mission. It's like
a last thing
at the
about
s-
Cyrus, like, Cyrus, I'm coming.
exactly, and it's like the second half of the season, like they start off with a mission, but then like everything gets fucked up and like the mission completely changes in the next episode.
Yeah, and I like that because the first half of the episode was Will trying to get the staff so that Jafar could complete the spell, and Alice and Cyrus are like, no, you can't do that. And then finally they resolve everything, and they come up with a plan to make sure that it doesn't go through. Or another, I don't know, I actually don't know what their plan was. I guess it was just to get everyone out of there. Um, and now, what are they going to do next episode? Like, Alice can't stop the spell. Now she's going to need it because they need to bring back Cyrus and Anastasia. So it's pretty cool. She was saying no at the beginning of the episode, and I'm pretty sure now she's saying, okay, we got to let it happen. So
Yes, we need zombie Cyrus and zombie Anastasia.
yeah, and I thought that it was, I love Cyrus, so I just thought that, I was like, oh my god, like, damn. Although it wasn't as impactful as Anastasia's, again, because of the context of it. Although it was in front of his mom, I guess you got to keep the tradition. Jafar's got to kill somebody in front of somebody they love. So,
Yeah.
but it wasn't Alice. But it was heartbreaking for Alice to get there and be like, oh shit, you know. So.
Well, let me ask our person who was not affected by Anastasia's death. Were you affected by Cyrus's death, Jess?
I mean, I was sad, but
Were you still scared of Amara?
No, definitely not. I think I was more sad for Amara than anyone else, which sounds really horrible, but she went through lifetimes essentially looking for ways to free her sons and then having him die when she, hadn't even really gotten him back officially or gotten to talk to his brothers or be reunited with her sons in any way that's, meaningful. I felt horrible for her because of the things that she put herself through and the person that she had to become in order to try and save her boys throughout all those years. Because when we were first introduced to her, she didn't seem like the kind of woman who could murder someone in cold blood or who could inspire terror. Sorry, not when we were first introduced to her, but like the flashback episodes with Cyrus and
where
his
she was
brothers.
burned.
And that is in such contrast to when we first saw her, where everybody was fucking terrified, and even, the
Except for little Jafar.
Except for little Jafar, even the man that I'm just gonna call him Jafar's steward because I have no idea what else to refer to him as. But he was even terrified of him, and like he was a pretty intimidating character to Jafar. But to see him go from intimidating douchebag to boy, don't look, boy, don't look, like that was kind of scary. So I think she had to make a lot of changes and sacrifice big pieces of herself in order to reach the end goal of saving her sons, and I just felt horrible for her. I mean, I felt really bad for Alice, too, because, man, like, she really got the short end of the stick in this situation. But also, maybe it's just me, I'm kind of holding out for that happy ending. I don't think that, Cyrus is completely dead and okay, well, Alice will move on in like 6 or 7 years, you know what I mean? Like,
okay. Now, Jess, I have a question for you because I'm just curious to know the answer because I have a feeling it's going to be interesting. Did you notice Amara's bosom this time around?
I did not.
Okay.
I noticed that she looked a little bit paler, and I was like, well, she has been a staff for a while. Maybe he doesn't let her go out into the sun.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's get into the MVP, the most valuable player, the character that impressed you the most, and why. Who's your MVP? Priscilla.
Oh, thank God I went first, because, like, I was searching for anyone I would find, like, the most valuable character this episode, because I was so fucking bored. I'm gonna give it to Alice, just because I loved that fight scene at the very end, where, like, the Sultan is just kind of like, there's too many people, you can't fight them on your own, and she just proves that girl power, she can do it herself, like, one sword, take all those knights out. That was cool.
Okay. I'm going to give it to Amara for that epic wizard duel. It was just fantastic, and, like, she has such a presence about herself that, like, when she just, like, sauntered into the room and she was like, I'm back, baby, and you're gonna fucking pay. It's just fantastic. And that whole scene at the end where it was like the gamut of emotions for her, like, from, like, revenge and vengeance to, like, sorrow and despair over her child. I thought it was really well done. And then, of course, she had to give in to Jafar's wishes and to do the spell so that she can bring her child back. So Amara, for me, Jess?
For me, it's gonna have to be Cyrus. And not just because he died, because I don't give these things out to dead people all the time.
Because you love him.
Because I feel bad that he died, but he was also trying to do something noble. And I feel like, even up to this episode, that his past mistakes were haunting him and he was trying so hard to make things right. And he essentially died trying to do that. And I think that that is the mark of what makes him a truly changed man. Not that he had to suffer through a bunch of selfish pricks making stupid, selfish wishes, but that he actually went ahead and took action to try and make his wrongs right again. Like, I think that takes an incredible amount of character and goodness.
Okay. And Brittany?
I gotta go with my boy Jafar. I think we had an episode where our heroes, they had conflict, they resolved it, they compromised, came up with a really good plan in their eyes, and probably to us too. There's nothing better than watching our heroes sneak in somewhere and get their way. When it seemed like we had the upper hand, even though Amara was kind of like, I would say, an equal with Jafar in the magic department. Jafar fucking just turns on us. Like he it looks like he has nothing, and then he ends up having everything. And,
Okay.
and the very thing they're trying to prevent is the one thing that ends up happening, and it's due to Jafar just being Jafar, and he's awesome.
And what about the hair?
His hair is always on point, man.
Okay. Vidal Sassoon.
Yeah.
So now it's time to rate the episode. We are going to rate the episode on a mushroom scale from 1 to 10. Point system is certainly allowed. And if the episode exceeds your expectation and is more than a 10 in your eyes, you may grant it a golden mushroom. So we're going we'll go in the inverse order. So we'll start off with Brittany.
I'm gonna give this episode a 9 out of 10. I don't think it exceeded last episodes, the previous episode, at all. But I do think it had a really nice twist at the end, and we had some good angst between friends. We got Amara back. We got some good stuff in here. And definitely worthy of the last arc of episodes that are still really good. And this episode was really solid, so 9 out of 10.
Jess?
I'm gonna give it a 7.7 mushrooms out of 10. And there are other episodes that I enjoyed more than this one, but for me, the strengths in this episode were definitely, the plan they put together and Amara's love for her sons, and also that whole thing where Jafar finally got to use the magic and his eyes went all glowy and weird. I like that part.
What?
Did that visit you in your dreams?
In my nightmares, you mean?
Oh, what did you think of Jafar's hair?
It's hair-like. I don't really notice. I mean, I suppose it's nice, but
Jess, you don't notice Amara's bosom. You do not notice Jafar's hair.
Yeah.
But why do you watch the show, Jess, if you don't notice the outfits and the hair and the,
For the happy ending, of course.
Well, we know you love a good happy ending.
Stop it, Brittany. You're
I'm
so
sorry.
mean to me.
I'm not mean. I have a very dirty mind.
Speaking of dirty minds,
Wild
it's
to
my
figure
turn.
that out.
Good grief. So I give the episode a solid 8.5. I liked a lot of the elements. I don't feel like it was as strong as the previous episode, and it's certainly not one of the stronger ones of the series, but it was a good setup to the finale. I liked a lot of the character development, like with the Jabberwocky and with our Bro TP and that kind of thing. I like the ending, the fight sequence, the return of Amara, the wizard duel, the giant snakes and shards of glass and magic, electricity and glowing eyes and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a solid episode, a decent episode. So an 8.5, 8.5 portobello mushrooms from me. Priscilla?
Oh crap! You had to leave me to the end.
I know, because I knew you were going to be the worst one.
I know, like y'all gave it pretty high ratings, but like I'm going back and looking at it, and it wasn't until 5 minutes before the end of the episode that I actually paid attention and liked something, which is like the wizard
Amara's
duel
dress.
and Alice's fight. So I'm giving it 5 for the 5 minutes I actually enjoyed this episode.
Dun 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 dun.
I told you it's not going to be a ray of sunshine with this episode.
Well, on that happy note, let's dive into some Easter eggs featured in this week's episode of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland and the Once Upon a Time television universe. This is an official spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Check out our official Facebook like page by visiting facebook.com/Storybrooke Weekly Mirror. Let's start off with the ratings. The ratings for the episode when it initially aired on March 27th, 2014. The episode was viewed by 3.35 million viewers. So as far as Easter eggs, the title card featured the Queen of Hearts vault. And it's interesting because building material from Regina's Heart Vault on Once Upon a Time was reused to build the entrance to the Wonderland Vault. The door, the bricks, the steps, the columns, and the beam across the columns are exactly the same as Regina's vault. So that's interesting. Alice and the Knave of Hearts are characters from the original Alice in Wonderland story, while the Red Queen and the Jabberwocky are from the story's sequel, Through the Looking Glass. And of course, we have characters from the Aladdin story, such as the Genie, Sorcerer, and the Sultan. Going on to some props, Jafar's spellbook contains an illustration by the 16th century Italian naturalist Ulisse Aldrovandi's book, History of Monsters, published posthumously in 1642. The illustration that we see is known as Monstrum Tetrachirum Alatum Capite Humanum Aurito, which shows a monster with 4 arms, wings, and large ears. And those are all the Easter eggs that I have. So on that note, join us next time for the series finale of Storybrooke Weekly Mirror in Wonderland. Visit the Papi Chulo Radio archives to download this episode and many more. Binge listen to your favorite Papi Chulo Radio programs by visiting papichuloradio.com/archives. You can download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Storybrooke Weekly Mirror in Wonderland and subscribe. Please like us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/Storybrooke Weekly Mirror. You can also like Papi Chulo Radio on Facebook by going to facebook.com/Papi Chulo Radio. Help support Papi Chulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/Papi Chulo Radio. Email us via contact@papichuloradio.com with any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns. Are you interested in joining the Papi Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@papichuloradio.com. Co-hosts, wish the listeners a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Hope you enjoy.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific throughout the summer for a brand new installment of Storybrooke Weekly Mirror in Wonderland. Good night, everyone.